During World War II, while millions of soldiers fought on battlefields, a hidden war was being waged in the shadows. This was a war of secrets, deception, and extraordinary courage. Today we'll uncover the stories of the greatest spies who changed the course of history, risking everything in the darkness so others could see the light of freedom. World War II wasn't just won on battlefields. Intelligence operations determined the outcome of critical battles, saved countless lives, and helped end the war years earlier than it might have found otherwise. From breaking enemy codes to stealing Nazi secrets, these spies operated behind enemy lines, where one mistake meant death. The tools of espionage in the 1940s were primitive by today's standards, yet incredibly sophisticated for their time. Spies used invisible ink, microdots smaller than a period, fake documents, and clandestine radio transmitters. But their greatest weapon was human courage and ingenuity. Virginia Hall was America's greatest female spy. An American socialite turned secret agent, she was described by the Gestapo as the most dangerous of all Allied spies, and given the nickname the Limping Lady because she had a prosthetic leg she called Cuthbert. Despite her disability, Hall operated deep in Nazi-occupied France, organizing resistance networks, coordinating supply drops, and helping Allied pilots escape. She worked first for British intelligence and later for America's OSS, the predecessor to the CIA. Her prosthetic leg never slowed her down, though it caused her tremendous pain during long missions. Hall's most dangerous work involved transmitting intelligence reports by radio. The Gestapo used direction-finding equipment to locate resistance radio operators, and many were caught and executed. Hall constantly moved locations, staying one step ahead of Nazi hunters. She once escaped across the Pyrenees Mountains on foot, with her prosthetic leg causing excruciating pain with every step. When headquarters radioed asking about her condition, she famously replied, "Cuthbert is being tiresome, but I can cope." After the war, Virginia Hall became the only civilian woman in World War I to receive the Distinguished Service Cross, America's second highest military honor. The Nazis never caught her despite offering rewards for her capture. She later joined the CIA and continued serving her country in the shadows. Juan Pujol Garcia was perhaps the most successful double agent in history. This unassuming Spanish man convinced the Nazis he was their best spy in Britain, while actually working for the British and feeding Germany completely false information. He was so convincing that he received medals from both Nazi Germany and the British Empire. Pujol's genius was in creating an entirely fictional spy network. He invented 27 imaginary sub-agents with complete backstories, personalities, and even family problems. He sent the Germans thousands of messages, each carefully crafted to seem authentic. He reported on troop movements that didn't exist and military installations that were never built. The Nazis trusted him completely. Pujol's greatest achievement was Operation Fortitude, the deception campaign for D-Day. He convinced Hitler that the main Allied invasion would hit Calais, not Normandy. Even after D-Day began, Pujol's messages persuaded the Germans to keep massive forces at Calais, waiting for an invasion that never came. His deception saved thousands of Allied lives and ensured the success of the Normandy landings. The Germans awarded Pujol the Iron Cross. The British made him a member of the Order of the British Empire. He remains the only person to receive decorations from both sides in World War II. After the war, Pujol faked his death and disappeared, living quietly in South America, until a British spy writer tracked him down decades later. Noor Inayat Khan was a princess, a children's book author and one of Britain's most courageous spies. Born to Indian royalty, Raised in Paris and educated in music and mysticism, she seemed an unlikely candidate for dangerous espionage work. Yet this gentle soul became a radio operator behind enemy lines in Nazi-occupied France. In 1943, Noor was sent to Paris as a radio operator for Britain's Special Operations Executive. Radio operators had the most dangerous job in the French resistance, with an average life expectancy of just 6 weeks. Within weeks of her arrival, her entire network was betrayed and arrested. Noor was ordered to return to London, but she refused to abandon her mission. For 3 months, Noor operated as the only radio link between London and Paris, constantly moving locations to evade Nazi detection. She was eventually betrayed by a French collaborator and arrested by the Gestapo. Despite brutal interrogation, she revealed nothing. She attempted to escape twice. Classified as highly dangerous, she was sent to Dachau concentration camp. On September 13, 1944, just months before the war's end, Noor Inayat Khan was executed at Dachau. Her last word was liberté. She was posthumously awarded the George Cross, Britain's highest civilian decoration for bravery. Her courage under torture saved many lives, as she never revealed the identities of other agents or resistance fighters. Richard Sorge was a German journalist working in Tokyo who became the Soviet Union's greatest spy. His intelligence literally changed the course of World War II, yet his own government ignored his most important warnings, and he paid the ultimate price for his loyalty. Sorge built an extraordinary spy ring in Japan, recruiting Japanese intellectuals, journalists, and even a member of the Japanese cabinet. Posing as a loyal Nazi journalist, he had access to the German embassy in Tokyo and became drinking buddies with German diplomats. He was so trusted that he helped draft German diplomatic cables. In 1941, Sorge sent Moscow intelligence that would change history. Japan would not attack the Soviet Union from the east. This allowed Stalin to transfer 18 divisions, 1,700 tanks, and over 1,500 aircraft from Siberia to defend Moscow against the German invasion. These reinforcements arrived just in time to stop the Wehrmacht at the gates of Moscow, turning the tide of the war. Sorge also warned Stalin about the exact date of the German invasion of the Soviet Union, but Stalin ignored this warning, believing it was disinformation. The Japanese eventually uncovered Sorge's network and arrested him in October 1941. After years in prison, Sorge was hanged in 1944. The Soviet Union denied he was their agent until 1964, when they finally acknowledged his service and declared him a hero of the Soviet Union. Eddie Chapman was a criminal, a safecracker, and one of Britain's most remarkable double agents. His story reads like a spy thriller because it essentially was one. The Germans codenamed him Fritz, while the British called him Zigzag, due to his unpredictable nature. Chapman was a career criminal trapped in the Channel Islands when the Germans invaded. He offered his services to the Germans as a spy, was trained in sabotage and espionage, and was parachuted into Britain in 1942 with orders to blow up a British aircraft factory. Instead, he immediately turned himself in to British intelligence. MI5 staged an elaborate fake explosion at the factory, using movie magic to convince German reconnaissance planes that Chapman had succeeded. The Germans were thrilled with their successful agent. They paid him handsomely and awarded him the Iron Cross. Chapman lived a glamorous life in Britain, funded by German money while feeding false intelligence to his Nazi handlers. He helped identify bomb sites in England for MI5 and provided information about German secret weapons. What made Chapman remarkable was that he convinced everyone. The Germans never suspected he was a double agent. British intelligence never fully trusted him, but couldn't deny his results. After the war, Chapman returned to his criminal ways briefly, then settled down and wrote his memoirs. He remained proud of having fooled the Nazis while living well at their expense. The Rote Kapelle, or Red Orchestra, wasn't a single spy but a massive Soviet intelligence network spread across Nazi-occupied Europe. The Gestapo gave them this musical codename because they played their radio transmitters. At its height, this network had hundreds of members across Germany, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The network was led by German officers, intellectuals, and civil servants who opposed Hitler from inside the Reich. They provided the Soviets with invaluable intelligence about German military plans, weapons production, and troop movements. Many members were motivated by conscience rather than ideology, risking everything to resist Nazi tyranny. The Gestapo began uncovering the network in 1942. Over 400 people were arrested across Europe. More than 100 were executed, including many women. The Nazis showed no mercy. Members were hanged with piano wire on meat hooks in Hitler's orders, their deaths deliberately made slow and painful. Despite this brutality, some cells continued operating until the war's end. The sacrifices of the Red Orchestra saved countless lives by providing advance warning of German military operations. Today they are remembered as heroes in Germany, with memorials acknowledging their courage in standing against tyranny from within. Nancy Wake was the Gestapo's most wanted person in France, with a 5 million franc bounty on her head. The Nazis called her the White Mouse because she always evaded their traps. This former Australian socialite became one of the most effective Allied agents in France, known for her beauty, courage, and ruthless efficiency. Wake parachuted into occupied France in 1944 and took command of a 7,000-strong force of French resistance fighters. She coordinated arms drops, planned attacks on German infrastructure, and fought alongside her troops. In one famous incident when the Germans surrounded her headquarters, she cycled over 500 kilometers through German checkpoints to find a radio operator and re-establish contact with London. Nancy Wake was no desk agent. She killed a German sentry with her bare hands during a raid to prevent him from alerting others. When asked about it years later, she said matter-of-factly that she killed him quickly and quietly because they were in the middle of an operation. Her matter-of-fact attitude toward the violence she endured and inflicted showed the harsh reality of resistance warfare. After the war, Nancy Wake received medals from France, Britain, the United States, and Australia. She received more Allied decorations than any other servicewoman of World War II. Despite her extraordinary service, she remained humble, once saying, "I hate war and violence. The fact that I had to kill people still haunts me, but I had to do it to save others." While field agents risked their lives behind enemy lines, another group of unsung heroes fought the war from a Victorian mansion in England. Bletchley Park housed the Allied code-breaking operation, where mathematicians, linguists, and puzzle solvers worked to crack Nazi ciphers. The most famous achievement of Bletchley Park was breaking the German Enigma code. This cipher machine created billions of possible combinations, and the Germans believed it was unbreakable. Alan Turing and his team built early computers called bombers that could test thousands of combinations per minute, successfully decrypting German military communications. Over 10,000 people worked at Bletchley Park, mostly women. They worked in absolute secrecy, never telling even their families what they did. The intelligence they provided shortened the Battle of the Atlantic, helped win El Alamein, and informed D-Day planning. Historians estimate their work shortened the war by 2 years and saved millions of lives. The Bletchley Park codebreakers remained silent about their work for decades after the war, bound by the Official Secrets Act. Only in the 1970s did their story begin to emerge. Today, Bletchley Park is a museum honouring these unsung heroes who won World War II with brain power and mathematics. These spies and countless others risked everything in the shadows so that others could live in the light. They came from every background imaginable: princesses and criminals, mathematicians and socialites, soldiers and civilians. What united them was courage and the belief that some causes are worth dying for. Many spies never received public recognition. Some died in concentration camps or before firing squads. Others lived quiet lives after the war, taking their secrets to the grave. The full extent of their contributions may never be known, as many intelligence files remain classified even today. The greatest spies of World War II remind us that heroes don't always wear uniforms or fight on battlefields. Sometimes the greatest courage is shown in silence, in solitude, in the face of almost certain death. They were ordinary people who did extraordinary things when history demanded it. Their legacy endures in the freedom we enjoy today. Every time we stand up to tyranny, every time we risk something for a principle, we honour their memory. The greatest spies of World War II weren't just gathering intelligence, they were defending civilization itself.